Today, we're going to take a visit to the classroom of Mrs. Album. She's been having some problems lately, so let's dive in and see what's been going on. Mrs. Album's students are, generally speaking, well behaved. They usually work hard and complete their assignments. However, Mrs. Album is concerned because there is little cooperation between the students. Students rarely help each other. They often argue and cannot seem to work together. Mrs. Album has tried to encourage students to work together on various projects, but this has usually been more trouble than it was worth. Mrs. Album would really like her students to learn to cooperate and to benefit from joint efforts. Let's take a look at what happened when Mrs. Album was explaining a simple group work assignment in her classroom. In Group 1, one student has taken command and is looking to dominate her peers. Many attempts from other group members are shot down as the one student is hogging all the work. This shows a lack of respect and trust for the other group members and isn't effective group work. Keep in mind, group work tests students' abilities in the collaboration learning strategy. Riding one student's coattails is not collaboration. Group 2 seems to have too many hands in the kitchen. Everyone is participating, but there is no direction and no cooperation. This is familiar territory for teachers to deal with. There needs to be a way for students to get past arguing and actually tackle the problem they're trying to solve. Group 3 isn't getting anything done. All of the students refuse to work with each other, which to them means not working at all. The big idea for dealing with this potential problem is stopping it before it starts. One way to do this is by creating a sense of community in your classroom where students can respect and value each other as well as be comfortable working together with any of their peers. Now we'll share some strategies as we break down the tape from Mrs. Album's class. Here we've got Mrs. Album standing at the end of two lines of her students. In the activity, she gives two simple choices based on what the students like and dislike. According to answers, the students move into different lines. Now what's interesting here is we've got some students that have been at odds with each other in the classroom, but bam! After a short little activity, turns out these two actually have a lot of common interests. Mrs. Album can only look on and smile as she gets the desired result. A big win for her in the classroom. On to the next one, we join Mrs. Album as she's planned a team building strategy to encourage students to communicate and work together effectively. On the surface, this just looks like students tossing some tennis balls around the room, but let's look deeper. The goal of this is for students to pass the tennis balls around the circle in a certain order in the fastest possible time without it touching the floor or being dropped. Initially, the students have some trouble remembering what order to throw the ball around, and the distance between students was leading to the ball being dropped. You just can't have that in a big game like this. To Mrs. Album's delight, a few students get creative and start rearranging their peers so they can simply just pass the ball around the circle. A huge play by some key students to really show the value of communication and solid leadership during group work. The highlight of the night comes a little bit later in this activity in what can only be described as an absolute miracle of ingenuity. The students band together and make a tube with their hands. Moments later, one student simply drops the ball down the tube and excitement! The activity is completed in mere seconds. You can see this type of success really gets the students fired up. There's applause and congratulations are given to the genius who had the idea. What a turnaround for this kid after a rough start in early group work stages in Mrs. Album's class. The big test for this class came during another team building strategy. Mrs. Album challenged her class to lower a broomstick to the floor while supporting it with just 2 fingers each. This task was a daunting one, as if even one finger leaves the broomstick, the group fails. In fact, before they start communicating, the broomstick actually goes up instead of down. After 15 minutes and numerous failed attempts, the students are scratching their heads. Again, communication comes to the rescue to save Mrs. Album's class. The students talk it out and you can see that the strategy changes. Slowly, the students work together to lower the broomstick to the floor. A simple challenge forced them to sync up and work as a unit. This is an exercise that shows them that a group can only succeed if everyone is on the same page. What a moment for building community and stopping uncooperative behavior before it starts.